what's going on, my beautiful kings and queens out there? It's another day here inside the Black Actors Studio. I'm your host, Danny Royce, and joining me today, I have an amazing guest. You know him from The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He plays Derek on Tyler Perry's The Haves and the Have-Nots. You've seen him on The Bachelor Party, starring Lamont Rucker and Christian Keys. You've seen him on Life, Lord, All Men Can't Be Dogs, starring Vivica A. Fox, NCIS, Young and the Restless, the list goes on. Please welcome, the Black Actor Studio is very proud to have Keith Burke. How are you, man?
Blessed. Just like that sign behind you, brother. Happy to be here.
Yes, indeed.
I was listening to some of them credits. I was like, wow, that was a lifetime ago. Some of them, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I mean, Will is the reason I even ended up out here. So grateful, great blessings to him as well.
That's amazing. Yeah, we're going to definitely talk a little bit more about that later on. But I do want to say congratulations on the Haves and the Have-Nots. You've been on there for quite a while playing Derek.
Yeah,
tell us,
48 episodes.
What's that?
48 episodes.
48 episodes.
Oh my gosh.
Tell us a little bit about that journey. And did you want to make it this far into 48 episodes?
No, listen, let me tell you, it's so funny how, the mind works. It was, the opportunity came, and I had auditioned previously for roles years past for Mr. Perry that I was like, I don't know if that's really me, but okay. And when this role came about, I was like, oh man, now you have no excuses. Like, this is you, like in a real way. So you have to get it. Then you get terrified, like, oh, it's really me. So then if I can't even play kind of aspects of my own self that I connect to in a character, that's kind of scary, Maybe I'm not really, you get all in your head. So I was fortunate enough, a couple of things happened. A buddy of mine, Billy Williams, he really, that was one of his favorite shows.
Mm-hmm.
So he knew the pulse of the show. He kind of knew how it was supposed to kind of move, the beats and how it, the feeling of the show. So he really was instrumental in helping me prepare just for that particular show.
Right.
And then also, it was great that he had a prior relationship, friendship with Crystal Fox. Like, they knew each other. They had worked on a project in the past. And so when we went to the audition, he was like, just kind of really, he had actually went with me. He was like, nope, we're going to see this whole thing through to the end. This is before COVID, obviously.
Yeah.
And they had a chance to meet, and she thought he was auditioning for the role. She was like, oh, are you auditioning? He was like, no, my man right here, good people, good actor, And it was just kind of like, okay. And it wasn't like she said, okay, and I got the role. No, that wasn't it. But it was just a matter of, okay, well, congratulations, and I'll see you in there. And it was just wild. I went in, and it was, and let me see, I got ahead of myself. Initially, I went in and I did the audition, got a call back. And Crystal Fox happened to be in LA because she was doing something with Oprah Winfrey, who was having an event. And so she just happened to be there. So they were like, well, since we can have the callbacks tomorrow and have a chemistry read with all the Dereks.
Right.
And when I got there, it was maybe 3 or 4 of us. And I was like, oh God. So now, that's your whole competition, because we were all there at the same time. It wasn't like, it was staggered. We were all there waiting to go in. And that's when the conversation, took place. And it was just more or less like, okay, well, let's see what your boy got. And so now you're like, okay, now I got to represent him in this situation as well as myself. But, lo and behold, it worked out. I found out, fortunately, the very next day, and which, doesn't happen that often.
No.
And it was surreal for me, because up until that point, I hadn't really done too many multiple episodes.
Right.
Like, they said that it was a guaranteed 12, with the possibility for more, but 12 was more than I had done at one time. And so I was just really excited about it, man. And I got out there in Atlanta and saw a studio that a Black man owned, And it just seemed like, yo, I couldn't have scripted it based on who I am and where my energy flows. I couldn't have scripted it any better. Like, to have that first big kind of TV gig for me,
Right.
be with a brother, who was owning his own studio that would be opening, and this would be one of the first major, projects that would be filmed there. It was just, they were building. I was watching the set of the Oval being built. I was watching the house for, no, I'm sorry, that was season 3. The first
Yeah.
season, I was watching the set for Catherine's house, and how it was just crazy to see this.
Right.
And to know that someone that looked like me was behind all of it.
That part.
If that doesn't empower you and make you feel like anything is possible, like really as an artist, not much will.
Right.
Because I had never seen that. Every time I went somewhere, it was Walt Disney, it was Warner Brothers, Sony. It was, this was Tyler Perry, a black man, Tyler Perry Studios. That's the first. And so, it was just really, for me, that was so huge. And like, I had done television before, and fortunately, I had done The Young and the Restless. I'd done multiple episodes on there, and it was so I had an understanding of the pulse of like a soap opera kind of feel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that helped. And then, like I said, my buddy helped me tremendously, just kind of get the pulse of the show. But then I did all of that to get to my first day, first scene that we were shooting. And I literally went, like, for 2 seconds, went blank. Like, I couldn't remember a word. And, Mr. Perry's behind the camera because he's directing. So that's enough to make anyone, like, it's not enough that he owns the studio, but he's actually behind the camera, directing that. And so, I was kind of in my head about it. And I just and he said, hold everybody, because they shoot from all angles at once. So there's no turning around, And he says, come over here. And he says, listen, he said, Darren's a good guy. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you.
Nice.
And I don't know, like, when the studio head says you're a good guy, like, in that moment, it's amazing how sometimes people know what to say to an actor. Like, they just innately, directors sometimes can say, you suck, and it will get you going. Like, you just don't know what that thing is going to be. But maybe he knew, like, this guy just needs some affirming, words to just kind of get him going. And literally, one take, every scene I've shot after that.
Wow, that's awesome.
And so I just kind of needed to know that on some level, that it was okay that I belonged there, that it was my time to have this opportunity. And I never looked back. And it just, working with a great group of people who were just, really giving and very kind, made it a wonderful experience.
That's awesome. And then you went, you were told 12, and then you went ×4. So you
×4
going and still going.
Man, it was like, every time it was like, to hear that you're going back for another season. I mean, if you've never had that experience, once again, like, it's like a lot of things. It's never like that first experience of something in your field, or, like somebody dropping their first album, their real solid first single, or their first production. Like, for me, that was the first time that I was going to be a character on a show that was going to actually be developed on any real true level.
Right.
And the idea of that, knowing that I had an actual acting job that was going to, have the possibility to go on. And I was just, it was awesome. I went a little nuts the first year, like, just, I just went crazy.
As you should. Congratulations to you again. And as we do in the studio, I like to go from the beginning. Where were you born?
I was born, to quote my good brother Will Smith, West Philadelphia, born and raised.
Hey, in a playground is where I spend most of my day.
And here's something that's going to really bug you out. You want to talk about, like, how weird stuff. Not only, what's ironic is the apartment I was living in, and this is a true story. When I moved to LA, the apartment I was living in Philadelphia before the one I left to come to LA, was 1 block from where they shot. The playground is where where they shot that whole thing in the school. Wow. So that's actually in North Philly. It's not in West Philly. That school is in North Philly, on 17th and Wallace. And I lived one block on, I lived on 18th and Green. And it was like, the irony that would go that way. I mean, and our paths had crossed many times, and he, through a job that he gave a buddy of mine that, ultimately ended up facilitating my journey out there. But yeah, I was born in West Philly.
Nice.
Uh,
I love hearing stories like that, because people talk about fate and people talk about destiny, and that's it. It's like, you never know.
But do you ever think you ever meet people like they cross your path and you just take notice, but you're not even sure? And it's like, looking back, Will was always the star, if I'm honest. Like, the very first time I saw him, my girlfriend at the time went to the same high school as he did. And I went to like a soft hop or something like that. And Will was at that school. And that was like kind of at the beginning of hip hop. This is before any of his records, anything. He was in 9th grade. He was a freshman, okay? I didn't know who he was, but they had during that time, that's when hip hop really started breaking during that time, and breakdancing and pop lock and all that,
Right.
was going on. And so you would have little crews that would dance and everything. And so we were at the dance, and they turned on some hip hop. And this little crew started dancing. And then next thing you know, this guy comes in and everybody's screaming, all the girls there. I didn't know who the brother was. So I asked her, I'm like, who's that? Oh, she was like, yeah, that's Willie. That's Willie from Will Smith. And I was like, yeah, she was like, he's a freshman, but he's a cool kid, and I'm just watching him, and he's rapping. He's like, I'm Willie from this, I'm dying. He had all this energy. I was like, yo, this kid is real, but I was a more hardcore, the Message and Grandmaster Flash, but I could appreciate the fearlessness in which he approached that. And I just thought, wow, that's crazy. Like, you just fearless, and at that age, you had those insecurities as a teenager.
Yeah.
So to see someone younger than you have some sort of level of fearlessness in hip hop, which is, like kind of like, even from the very beginning, it came from the streets. And so it had more of an edgier vibe to it.
Right.
And Will was always Will. He never tried to be anyone else. So to come out in that way and see someone just do them and have confidence in that whole thing. Yeah. So who knew years later, our paths have crossed a couple of times, but that would facilitate an opportunities plural for me. So I'm always grateful to my Philly brothers for that.
Hey, that's awesome. That's dope. So how was the family dynamic in your household? Were your father and mother involved in the raising?
Yeah. I was adopted, but I was adopted by people who knew my family. So I know both families. So I have an adopted family, and I'm very, very close with my biological family on my mother's side. But I was raised by two amazing people, because I think when you adopt a child and you're in your mid to late 50s, it's essentially you're like a grandparent.
Right.
And you're saying, like, we're gonna raise a baby. You know what I'm saying? And so it was really interesting, because I had what ultimately what I realized now is I got a lot of really true old school values. I was raised by people that weren't in the streets, and that's not a knock. That's because I got kids and I've been in the streets, so this is not a judgment. But I was raised by parents who were very devout Christians, and I'm not in whatever person's religion I respect, like, but I'm just saying they were devout Christians. They were rooted in the church. My father was a deacon, my mom was a deaconess. They both sang in the choir. I remember I used to go on every second Sunday, well, at least once a month. I would go with my dad to serve communion to the sick and the shut in. And I was in the children's choir. So these are things that I believe that had I not had exposure to through my parents, there would be no balance in my personality. And I think because of some of the amazing people that I came across, that I'm still friends with to this day, that I grew up in the church with while I was in the church, just turned out to be like just really salt of the earth people. I'm grateful to my parents for exposing me at the very least to great value systems. the human side is no one's perfect and we all fall, and vice versa. We have family dynamics where there's turmoil and so forth. But I think at the heart of it, I really do try to judge the heart,
Right.
and their heart was truly in the right place, because, to allow somebody to grow up as your son, but still allow them access
Yeah.
to their family. It's pretty generous. It's pretty trusting, and I'm forever grateful for that.
That's big. You don't hear that a lot, so that's great. Did you have any nicknames growing up?
You're gonna love this one, Danny.
Danny?
That's my father's name. His name is
Oh,
Daniel, and that's
okay.
my middle name, Daniel.
Ah, okay.
So, it's just little Danny.
Well,
So
Danny.
that was it. They called him Dan. They called me Danny.
Right. Yeah. I used to hate
Yeah.
Dan.
So yeah. So I mean, thankfully, nothing too embarrassing or anything like that. All the embarrassment was saved for outside in and around my neighborhood. The older kids, stuff like they had their fun, but not
Right.
in the house.
For sure. Were you the only kid growing up in the household?
In my household, I was, but I have,
Yeah.
I do have siblings. My younger brother just passed away in 2019.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, but I have an older sister, and people that I, in terms of biological, and then just a host of amazing cousins and nieces and nephews. I'm just really blessed with some really wonderful people in my family. But
That's good.
yeah, it wasn't a real, I always wanted that. I always wanted to grow up with a house full of brothers and sisters,
Right,
people to
right.
play with. But I had a neighborhood full of kids, so it was a lot of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, but certainly.
So as you were growing up, did you watch any TVs, any films? What about film and TV really attracted you, and which ones really inspired you to get into this profession?
Man, I was talking about that yesterday with my son, actually. And he asked a similar question about that, like about TV shows. I think that's hilarious. But what I was saying is, honestly, I was, major TV person. I try to think of moments. Like if I were to give you moments when, like the first moment that I remember on television, where was the Cosby Show. Because like that was like, there were moments before that. There were other shows where I had seen Black actors, but I remember the Cosby Show was like, hold on, that's what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Because it had been so one-sided.
Yes.
Up until that point. I'm not discounting anything I saw on TV or anybody's work. Obviously, there was roots, and there were other things but for me, it was like, it was Cosby, and being that he was from Philadelphia, that was huge.
Yeah.
Um, and the fact that he showed America what was actually going on that they weren't showing. It wasn't
Right.
like, hey, we can be doctors. We are doctors. We are attorneys. Our kids do, have these same quirky issues that you have over there on, Eight is Enough.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Mhm.
it just, I remember all of those shows, and it was always such a vastly different feeling whenever a person of color appeared on the screen. Whenever anybody Black was on a show, they were usually the troubled kid, or the one that you had the hookup. It was always something slick in terms of TV and guest star stuff that I would see. Now that I realize that was maybe a co-star, guest star, whatever they were doing, but I remember that moment and just thinking to myself, like, wow, this is what I'm, this is great. And
Yeah.
how great to be a part of something like that, And it's funny, one of my times flying to Atlanta, who's sitting right in front of me? Malcolm Jamal Warner. And we just had the best conversation. And it blew my mind, because I'm thinking, dude, you're part of the reason,
Right.
without even knowing, that I even wanted to ever even think I could do this
Mm-hmm.
in that real way, in that real palatable way. Because when we think about the Sidney Poitiers and the Denzel Washingtons and all these, you know, respectfully, like they're thespians, and you know, they're presented in a particular. I think Denzel more accessible in terms of the roles because it was a lot of diversity. Sidney
Right.
Poitier is like the OG from, you know, you that's it, right? But then it was like more accessible. And then, like I said, then when you get into TV and Dr. Cosby, and then that being more accessible, even still, you know, because it's in your living room every, was it Thursday night? And
Yeah.
so to be, you know, having this conversation with this kid that I watched grow up on TV with me, essentially, it was it was just like, wow, this is, you know, that truly anything is real, anything is possible.
Mm-hmm.
Like what
Anything.
really was keeping us so, like he was on his way to a job that he was going to be doing, right? And so was I. And it was just that idea that the universe is showing you, see, I showed you. I just wanted to remind you, you're following your dreams. Sometimes we don't even realize that we were following signs. We think, oh yeah, I just want to do it. But like we had little signs that at least I've seen them throughout my
Oh
life.
yeah.
And then these same people have come back and I've connected with them, which is you know, I ended up you know, getting my SAG card because I was Will Smith's stand-in for Men in Black, the first one, when he was
Nice.
shooting in LA. And that was through my brother Tron, who passed away some years ago, but he was working for Will, and I reached out through some friends and was like, hey, I'd like to come out. Would you be cool with me coming out and just hanging and shadowing for a couple of days? And he was like, yeah, come on. I mean, if he would have never said yes, I probably wouldn't be here.
Right.
Seriously, I'm not even gonna lie, because by him saying that, it allowed me to come in, be introduced to everyone on the Fresh Prince set, sit around, watch, take in notes, and let people, you know, become very comfortable, or at least a little comfortable with me. And like, you know, rest in peace, James Avery. Like, took me and my
Yes.
buddy. He was like, you know, we were getting our lunch, and he goes, what are you youngsters doing? What y'all up to? Which kind of trouble y'all getting into today?" I was like, "Oh, we just nothing." And we laughing because it's like James Avery, you know, it's like your uncle, like, what you hard, you know, like checking you, right? And he
Yeah.
goes, so y'all coming out here to be actors? You gonna get in this game? And then we were like, yeah, you know, that's what we. He says, all right, follow me. And he proceeded to walk us into his dressing room. We sat down and he gave us the whole, I mean, he gave like a true Uncle would, like that loved you, like tried to really put us up on some real game about the focus, the determination, watch out for the distractions. I mean, it was just, you know, I'm never gonna stop saying, you know, telling that story, because it's one of the kindest things that anyone who didn't have any prior relationship with me whatsoever had done for me on that such a personal and such a giving level. And it's just like we left there feeling like, okay, we can do this. We're going to
Right.
do this, you know. And again, all from some guy running into a soft hop, jumping around, rapping. Who's that? Years later, look at that. Do you understand how crazy that is?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't, because it's not the way you think about things, but it's just the way I think about it. I'm like, I went from who is that to, hey man, you know,
Yeah.
he's getting ready. Not only is he at coming to the end of the Fresh Prince show, but he's getting ready to become a movie star, because now he's doing Men in Black. He's about
Right.
to do Men in Black. He had done Independence Day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm just like, that's the guy that ran into the lunch room, the cafeteria that night while we were at the dance rapping. And he created this from that. So why should we ever feel like we don't have enough?
Right.
He believed he could when he ran in that cafeteria, even if he was terrified. He believed he could, or he wouldn't have ran in there.
Right.
So if you really look at the chances that he's taken as an artist, as an actor, you know, he's really taken chances. He's really forged ahead and tried to do things with the audacity, because, you know, even when you're an A-list, if you have a flop, or if it doesn't go well, there's all that pressure. So there's always some sort of pressure in this business, and I just take a lot from people that I've had the, you know, the good fortune to be around and watch, it's just like they're fearless, and you kind of have to approach it with that. Fearless in the service of the story, fearless in the service of what you can become, of to your own self.
Right.
And I think a lot of times us as Black men and women, and I can only speak from a man's point of view, but we don't know that, and that is so monumentally detrimental to our community. We should know it, but it's not, and while it's not our fault, I feel like things are being done now, and things are starting to come more to the forefront. If information is shared more readily through our phones and computers and all of that. And so your knowledge of self can be something a journey that you can take, that you don't have to wait for someone to come to you with it. You can just Google things and read, right, or watch, and I was watching, speaking of watching, I was watching the Five Bloods last night, and it never ceases to amaze me, because Spike is that filmmaker that made me go, I want to do this more than anything.
Gotcha.
I mean, when I saw She's Gotta Have It, I was like, okay, that's cool. That's what's up. He did a film, and it was kind of like spending those summers in New York and Brooklyn. My aunt, I had an aunt, rest in peace, my Aunt Carrie, and I used to love to go to New York, and just the feel of that vibe, and I was a kid, but just New York, it just had this vibe. And then, you get to go downtown, and she would take us to 42nd Street, and we see the theaters and go to the park, I mean, it was just seeing Spike do it. I was like, yeah, that's what's up. And then just to watch him continuously climb, but always giving history lessons, always teaching. And so when I was watching the Five Bloods last night, I was just like, wow, this brother's still teaching. He's still teaching. Because that Vietnam thing gets brushed over. And it triggered me, because I understand the level of disposability, if that's even a word, that we seem to be in supply for this country. Like, we're disposable.
Right.
And so you can't, and if you want to use, it's like, if we, on some level, like when you see someone, if you see someone riding a lion, right? You go, how is that even possible? If that lion doesn't know it's a lion, you can get it to jump through a hoop like a little cat. You can get it to be as docile as a lamb. If it doesn't know it's a lion, it has to see a lion. It has to be consistently around lions to know what lions do, what lions are, inherently. If I feed the lion and the lion never has to hunt, I'm stripping away life's surviving skills. So I feel like if you're keeping people essentially out of the job market, and making it tough for education, to be acquired, right? Because what was the whole game in Vietnam? The European counterparts, the Caucasians, the white folks, they were able to go and miss, a lot of them, not all of them certainly, but a lot of them were able to escape the war through education. They were able to go to college and miss that. Right. And to know that the average age was 19, and to know that we are 12% of the population, yet we were 33% of the population of soldiers in Vietnam, and then come back to this country to be spit on, to be called baby killers, to fight for a country and fight for rights that they still to this day don't have. Like, when I say, for me, that's what does it. When I watch a film like that, I'm saying thank you. While all Black films and all films of people of color don't have to always be political, thank God that Spike stays true to his roots when he decides to do that. And in all things, he brings it full circle to how this shaped and molded the picture of, what we're dealing with now. You can see how it easily matriculated from all of these men, this population of males being consistently destroyed. And you see that with, what goes on in the streets, right? This war on drugs. No, it was a war on Black people, because the drugs didn't get there. We didn't go to, South America and get them. You know what I mean? We don't fly the planes,
Right.
but if your person can't get a job or they're sitting there, they're struggling, right? We know the story. The
Right.
options are limited. You limit a person's options, you create a desperate situation. Like right now, we got a homeless crisis.
Yes.
So what I'm saying is ultimately, I feel like what stands out for me as an artist and in artist, how can I be? What was I meant to be of service? Like, how was I meant to do that through this? Because that, when I watch those films, take care, Christian. When I watch those films, um, I think, wow, I needed that. How many of us watched it and it kind of realigns our sense of purpose in things sometimes? You go to the film to just see, oh, it's a Spikes joint. But I mean, like the performances from like Delroy Lindo, like it was,
That's
I
yeah.
have no words and I haven't been speechless in a while about a performance. But that brother,
Yes.
all I can do is shake my head and just go, you know what, brother, you got it. I
love
appreciate your sacrifice because
right.
that wasn't a performance, that was a sacrifice.
Yes. Yes.
So I
I
mean, I'm just inspired by that kind of stuff. I don't know how I got all the way over here, but
I loved how you talked to, you brought that up, and it's fact. And a lot of people, they want to dismiss it or whatever, and they don't see why and how we got to this point, right? But they
right.
just, they just want to blame and point the finger. But as a Black male actor and artist, what do you feel like is your duty to the community?
Honestly, that's a great question because number one, I'm still trying to figure that out. But like I
Mhm.
was saying, just previously, my desire is to be able to service characters and play characters that service our community in a real way that shed light maybe in some areas that just aren't shown enough. Like in a real way, I think that we listen to music. Oh my God, because Marvin Gaye drove that whole soundtrack, and I almost lost my mind in the process. But you can't have a performance like that and Marvin in the background. It was just it was a masterpiece of that. Like that was almost, yeah. I mean, it was phenomenal. So like for me, I just always hope that I would be brave enough to pursue the things in that way and hopefully find my space along the way of how I can even be more of service outside of this. But certainly, as an artist, to tell those stories, to create those stories, because now at this stage where I'm at, and I've been out here 20 years, 20
Right.
plus years, um, it's time to start creating that for myself. It's great to be able to be in a situation to continue to service other people's stories, and I'm looking to do plenty more of it. But I certainly have stories that I want to tell, certain stories that I want to create, and through also having a really good group of people um, that I work with in terms of creativity. We just have some things that we're working on to bring to the forefront, and that's what I think. I think it's like you create the story. You know, some of our stories, like I'm sure you and I have similar stories, but we're still different, and we still can
Right.
offer some information based on what we've gone through that'll service two different people or 20 over here, 30 over here. But the point is to tell your thing, the thing that you think is insignificant. But if you're listening and you're going, yeah, I didn't really understand that the Black Vietnam experience hadn't been shown until I saw that movie last night. And I just said, you know what? Okay, clearly there was yeah, of course. Then it suddenly made sense. Like, yeah, what took this so long in
Right.
general?
Right.
But then when you listen to the facts, you go, well, yeah, of course. Because who wants that to get out,
Of
right?
course. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And especially now, given what we're dealing with in terms of
Yeah.
voter suppression and all of that kind of stuff, making it easier for you to buy an assault rifle with no, you know what I mean? No background check, but I can't give food and water to people waiting in line while they're voting.
Right. That part. Yeah.
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 So
It's
yeah, I mean, it's trying to find our space. Because what it is it when you're popular, your voice matters. Like so, then you can say things. But I think you
right.
should still build because there's people that will follow you. So hopefully that'll be the case here.
Now there are two really important questions I want to ask you before we get into our fun segment, which is our fast questions segment.
Okay.
You talked earlier about, you know, this sense of belonging on set.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of actors and people in the entertainment industry, they go through this phase of imposter syndrome, right? With
Say that again. They
someone,
go through a phase of what?
imposter syndrome.
Got you.
So, what would you say to someone that feels in that that experience? They're feeling that. What would you say to them, and how would you point them to move on with their career to get past that feeling? You say to
So my
them.
first day on Halves, even though I had felt like I certainly belonged there, I certainly had worked hard, but I still felt that way.
Right.
So yeah, I'm a good person to ask that question. Thank you for asking. What I would honestly say is, you know, I was fortunate enough, you know, in that situation, obviously, to have Mr. Perry say some kind words, and it kind of jarred all of that kind of loose, and I was able to kind of move from there. But honestly, you're there because you're supposed to be there. You're not there for any other reason. I don't care if you knew the producer. You're there because you're supposed to be there.
Mm-hmm.
It's enough going through the process, right?
Right.
Auditioning and learning lines and focusing on character and being available and all these things that you do as a sacrifice to be prepared. And sometimes you might even say, man, I only looked over it a few times. It doesn't matter. All the work that you've done prior allowed you to look at that because that was yours. We
Right.
see that which is ours, right? Even something as simple as picking out the clothes on our body. Though that sweater you picked and I picked, we both have on V-neck sweaters, but they're different, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That was what you wanted. This is what I wanted. And so ultimately, you have to be all right with the choices that you make, and then be all right with being chosen. Um, you know, all the work that I would just tell an artist honestly, all the work that you've done, trust your choice to do this. Trust that you are doing absolutely, positively what you were meant to do, because this doesn't work any other way. It's like if I pick up the saxophone right this minute and start playing, I'm gonna sound horrible.
Yeah.
So by the time I can play some songs and some folks then hired me to play a couple of gigs, chances are I'm ready, right?
Right.
Because I didn't put in the work, I didn't practice, I didn't did things. So know yourself. As long as you're being dedicated, and I don't care if you don't have to be the most dedicated. You're not in a competition with the next person. You're only competing against yourself,
Right.
and you're competing against yourself mentally, mostly, and then obviously your physicalities and making sure you're in a good place with your health. But when you're in a room, think about, for me, it's just, wow, I was chosen for this opportunity. And it's not as much about I have to get it as I'm really hoping I'm bringing something to this character that will that they'll see value in for their piece, because I don't know the whole piece.
Right. Right.
Yet they're picking a piece that fits a puzzle. And sometimes, just like with sports and teams and all of that, there are other things that play a part, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That the actor will never know whether he or she gets the gig or not. You will never know why you got it, and you'll never know why you didn't get it.
Right.
If you do know, they might just say, man, we just really, your tape blew us away. Okay, great, wonderful. But at the end of the day, it was yours. It was yours the day you were born. It was
Mm.
yours when you started your first day of school. It was yours. And it's always going to be yours. So I think we more or less have to learn to walk into our blessings. We don't need to be, we're not the judge and jury, right? Because if we were, we wouldn't get on our knees and pray, or we wouldn't hold up our hands, or we wouldn't speak to the universe. We wouldn't
Right.
meditate. If we were ultimately in control in that way. So clearly we believe that something or someone else is moving pieces around, right?
Right.
So if someone has a business and they're doing some hiring, they're basing that on their ideology. It has nothing to do with you. But if you were meant for that, you truly will get it. And if you're dedicated to yourself as an artist, you'll enjoy it.
Hmm.
You'll know you were supposed to be there. Now the process is the process with the whole production, but you will feel great from the first day you walk on set because you'll know, wow, this is going to be awesome. I get to bring Derek to life. I get to bring whoever to, to the public. And how awesome is that? And you just got to walk into it. But even I've gotten to a place now where even with auditions, it's like you look at the sides and you say, this is really interesting. Like, get into people, get into characters and what's driving them, and challenge yourself ultimately to go below, deeper under the surface, or be more open to revealing things that may not be right there on the surface. And sometimes it's right there in your face. But I think you just got to trust that you are legitimate. Make it fun. Be a scientist, get into your discovery, but have fun. Feel. This is where you get to do it unapologetically.
Right.
There's nowhere else where you will ever be able to scream, cry, shoot a gun, do all of these things, and there be literally no penalty but a paycheck. Rejoice in the fact that that's what you're pursuing as well, versus, not following your dream. And our dreams don't have an expiration date. You don't, you just keep going as long as you can. A fighter fights till they can't fight no more. A player, plays until they, something in their body or something says, but the pursuit is to the end.
Yeah.
And I think if you look in it in that way, you realize you're on a journey, and this is a step up. If it feels overwhelming, then take it. Dare to jump off the cliff. Be fearless. And I think that that's what I have to tell myself in those situations. That's what I learned from that. Walk in with gratitude and humility, but be fearless, because there's nothing but the universe supporting you and pushing you and propelling you forward. So you have no reason to feel that you don't deserve it.
I love that. That is an incredible response to that question. I love it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, hopefully I'm not talking you to death. I get going and then my mind shut down. So I apologize.
You're totally fine. So I want to go to our special segment. All right. So this is fast questions. Okay. So I'm going to ask you a question. You give me your response. The first thing that comes to mind.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Here we go. If you could trade lives with anyone in the world, who would it be?
Whoa. Okay. Right off the bat, I'm gonna definitely have to say LeBron James.
James. Okay.
Yeah.
LeBron James.
That actually should have came out a lot sooner. Yeah, LeBron James.
Okay. What show would you love to be on?
Man.
That's on right now. That's on network right now.
I love the shows like Lovecraft Country.
Okay. Yes.
Phenomenal show.
Yes.
There's some other ones, but I want to think of oh my God. I can't believe I'm drawing a blank. I used to be such a TV person.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot.
Yeah. What is on? What do I watch? That's so crazy. I'm drawing a blank for some reason.
Lovecraft Country is good.
That show had me. Oh, and you know what show I really appreciated up until maybe the last episode, but it was dope. Was the sister that she did. She's British with no hair.
Oh,
very dark.
Lupita?
No. She did an HBO show. It was a TV show. It just aired last season for the first time. I Might Kill You or something like this. God, I can't think of it.
I think I know what you're talking about. I can't remember.
Yeah, that show. Loved it. Excellent. The last episode drove me crazy, but she had me for like 8. I was in.
What is your favorite word?
Fuck. Because I think I don't know why, but I say that word way more than I probably should. In my head though, like I don't go around just saying that to people, but like it could be a good thing. Like I'll be happy, like it'd be one again. I'm like,
it's one of those words you can.
I don't know why, or just the word literally it just fits in front of everything.
Everything, right?
So yeah, or behind. Like either way, it works perfectly.
What's your least favorite word?
Nigga.
Self-explanatory. What's something that turns you on?
Wow. Honestly, when I see my family happy, smiling, joyous, nothing makes me happier, honestly, than to just look around and see people that I love just genuinely happy.
Nice. What's something that turns you off?
Oh man. The most I would have to say two-faced people. People that show you one thing, fair weather, when they're in your face, but they have an agenda. And so behind, they're friends with whoever they're around. So in other words, around me on Friday is my friend. Around you on Saturday is your friend. Right. So, I might hear about you on Friday. You might hear about me on Saturday. That kind of stuff. Those people, they're the worst. They're the absolute worst.
Right, that part. What's a sound or noise that you love?
Action.
Okay. I like that. What's a sound or noise that you hate?
Please pull over and turn off your car, please.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Oh, my brother, you have no idea. Yeah, I hate it. Yeah, I'm done with it now, though.
What profession other than your own would you participate in?
If I had the, you mean if I had the skills? I mean,
yeah.
Oh man, it's a no-brainer for me to be National Football League.
Okay. Oh, football. Okay. Nice. Yeah. Who would you love to work with and why?
I've just always been the biggest Denzel Washington fan. I just love his work. I love the humanity and the heart that he brings to every character. But I mean, I'm such a fan of so many. Like, I mean, honestly, like Ma Rainey's Black Bottom.
Chadwick Boseman.
Well, of course, but what's her the lady How to Get Away with Murder?
Viola Davis.
Viola Davis.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Oh my God! Like.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. Like you just if you can hang, right? If you can somehow dare to jump off that mountain and dare to do a scene with such genius.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's like when I say things I watch it Viola Davis, but that's the truth, But then there's just others. Like I said, I saw Delroy Lindo last night, and I thought, man, this man would probably bring out the best in me,
right.
As an actor. Like he just, oh man, yeah, man, come on.
So I think you may have answered my next question, but the next question would be, who is someone you would fan out for?
Oh, I mean, back in the day, he's no longer around, but Michael Jackson, I was the biggest Michael Jackson fan. I've been to a bunch of concerts, but never met the man. I've been to a bunch of Prince concerts, but I actually met him. Mm-hmm. And that was cool. Those were like my two, like Michael Jackson and Prince. I came up in that era where just true genius in artistry and can't be denied. So yeah, those were. Now in terms of acting, I've seen a lot of the people that I really admire. So that would be a tough one. I just think being on set with, like I said, Denzel Washington, Viola Davis, Joe Orlando, these people, then I would have to really call on the ancestors to give me strength, because I wouldn't believe that I'm looking across from such, but I trust that they wouldn't allow me there unless I was prepared.
Of course.
And I have that much faith, in that. But yeah, inside though, the cartwheels and the backflips will go down for sure.
All right. Pancakes or waffles?
Waffles.
Okay, nice. Last but not least? heaven exists, you get up to God, what would you like to hear him say to you?
I would like him to say, first and foremost, everybody that you love that you lost are waiting for you in there. So you're gonna, and they're really excited that you made it because there were some doubts. Um, but you know, through it all, I appreciate the effort and I know your heart. Go on and enjoy your family.
Hey,
And
that
I'm
would be,
good.
that'd be a great thing to hear. I'll tell you that. Tell you
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
much. Awesome. Well, and on that, thank you so much for giving me your time, Keith. It's been great talking to you. I also want to ask you just what can we see? What can we what's coming up for you? What can we be on the lookout for?
You know, right now, now that things are opening back up, auditionings are happening. And I'm excited. I mean, I listen to the universe now. I hear it speaking loud, and I know that the next project is going to be something, you know, beyond what I have done, and I'm
Good.
grateful for that. And I'm just doing the best that I can in preparation to just
Yes.
keep moving, keep the process going, because I know it's coming, but I'm not looking for it. I'm just focusing on being prepared
Yeah. I hear
and
that.
being
Focus
ready.
on there, be
So
ready, stay ready, so you ain't gotta
you
get
ain't
ready.
gotta get ready.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you know what it is.
That's what's
Appreciate
up.
you, Danny. I do, man.
Yes,
Thank you for, just making this fun and easy. Thank you.
of course, of course, and I thank you for giving it time. I like to do this at the end of every episode. Go ahead and just address the audience and just leave them with something real quick and inspirational, motivational, and the floor is yours.
Yeah. Was good, good people. First and foremost, thank you for even taking the time to listen to this. I just want all of my fellow artists and whether it be in front of the camera or behind the camera, but certainly my fellow artists and actors, just be encouraged. Know that anything is possible. Know that this is just one of the most noble professions because you allow people to feel, and that is such a gift. I think now more than at any time I've been alive. So what you're doing is a service, and do it with love, do it with a sense of purpose, and just go for the mountaintop. I'm rooting for you. You know, I'm really rooting for you, and just continue to keep the positive vibes coming my way because I certainly can use them, and I definitely appreciate them. Godspeed, one love.
There you go. And go ahead and tell everyone where they can find you, social media, and all that good stuff.
Mostly, you can find me on Instagram at Keith underscore Burke underscore official. And I mean, that's really where I'm at. I don't do too much tweeting. So for now, hit me up on IG, connect, say what's up, and just continue to be inspired because I'm rooting for us all.
Yes, yes. And
And
then
congrats again, Danny. Congrats,
thank
man.
you. Thank you. I appreciate it. And obviously keep a watch out for him on the have and have nots as Derek. And you can always find me at everywhere at I am Danny Royce. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time on Inside the Black Actor Studio. Take care, guys.
Take care.